morning. It is Tuesday, so it's time for Tech Talk Tuesday, not to be confused with the TikTok Tuesday. It's also Work From Home Tuesday, so if you see my PJs, don't judge me. In this episode, we are going to go ahead and install a HoloSun 507K on the Shadow Systems CR920XP. Obviously, it's a cleared firearm. I feel like that should be given nowadays. You know the internet, so here you go. Which is also a pistol that I'm currently reviewing for the channel. We're about 450 rounds into the review. I gotta say, just throwing a little teaser out there, it's pretty awesome. So I wanted to do a video specifically on the Shadow Systems one because I haven't really seen a whole lot of them out there. And the ones that I have seen aren't really done, I don't know, in a way that is sensical to me. You open up your book, you're gonna go to page 16, and you're gonna read through the optic mounting. Spacers in there, and then there's screws in there. And I just realized that mine is missing a set of screws. No bueno. Anyway, moving on. Actually, nope, I take that back. So the CR920s come with 2 spacers and 2 sets of screws. So if you look right here in the manual at the lower chart, it'll tell you for the HoloSun 407, 507, and EPS carry that you need to use the plus spacer. The spacer goes into the front, and you use screw number 1. These are screw number 1. They can be identified by the funky little pan head they got going on here. And these are the spacers. As you can see, this is a 0 spacer. This is the plus. So when we take the optic mounting plate off of this, there's a groove cut in here and at the back. So for some sites, you're going to put the spacer back here, and on other sites, you're going to put the spacer here. So what this little high-speed chunk of polymer does is it actually provides something to compress against so that your optic, it provides something to push up again, maintain a constant tension in the optic's pocket. Pardon me, I got the hiccup. So what are you going to need to do this job correctly? Well, I need some thread lock. In this case, I'm using Harbor Freight Tools thread lock number 42. This is the equivalent of Loctite 242. You're going to need a torque wrench. You can also get these at Harbor Freight. I have the Quinn. It happens to be a very nice one. You can get the cheaper ones. You're going to torque it between 10 and 20 inch-pounds is what Shadow Systems says to torque it to. I'm going to tell you that in the HoloSun manual, it's 15 inch-pounds. Okay? Guys, if ever there was a time in your life to not ugga-dugga something and to just buy the torque wrench, this would be the time. Second thing you're going to do different is right here on the head of the screw. So you're going to apply the thread locker here, and before you seat the screw, you're going to apply some thread locker to the head. And what that's going to do is just give a little bit of extra adhesion under the head of the screw to keep it firmly in the little cavities here on the optic body itself. So in case you're wondering, this is in fact the same optic that came with my War Poet. So you can see those screws here. Imagine that these screws already have Loctite applied. When it gets to about this point, you just put a little drop under the head, and as you torque it in place, it'll help to seal that in. And it just makes it more likely that your optic is not going to back out. And I think they tell you that because they're anticipating you guys not doing it the right way and using a torque wrench. But you guys follow me. We do things the right way around here. So I'm going to teach you guys the correct way to do this. Once we get it mounted, there's a couple of things that I've seen tons of different videos on YouTube. It irritates. See screws? All screws. I don't care if they're Chinese or American origin. They have a protective coating on there, okay? That protective coating will prevent your Loctite from bonding with the screw properly. What do? You get good old isopropyl alcohol. In this case, it happens to be 91%. Anything above 70% will clean it. You're going to clean the screw, you're going to clean the cavities, and you're going to clean the slide with isopropyl alcohol. Apply you some thread locker, run the screws down in after you get it mounted, and that's all she wrote, guys. It's that simple. So let's quit talking about it and let's get to it. This is a T10. If ever there was a gun in my inventory that absolutely deserves to have an optic mount, it's this bad boy right here. Now, you cannot reuse these, well, you can reuse these screws, but you cannot use these screws to mount an optic simply because they're not long enough. You can use the hollow sun screws if you want to, but I personally would recommend using the Shadow screws. They do seem to be of a marginally better quality. All right, so we're gonna grab the plus plate. As you can see, we have pulled the old plate out. We're gonna set the plus compression fitting there. And we do have a little bit of oil in here. It just happens every time you clean it, every time you do gun stuff with it. So what we're gonna do is take a little bit on a Q-tip, put some alcohol on it, get it nice and damp. You don't want it overly wet. Go ahead and get you a clean paper towel for cleanup as well. I'm gonna go ahead and clean the front pocket here. And here you can see those two, hopefully you can see those two dimples right there. They're right here. But you can see them there, and that's where that compression fitting actually locks in. So if you look at the compression, hold the compression fitting. If you look at the compression fitting, it's got some little nubs on it. Make sure you get all of the oil out of there because you do not want this thing to move. You want this to be a dry fit. Every time you go onto the forums and you read about people having a problem with their optics or their screws backing out or it won't stay torqued, number one, they didn't use a torque wrench. Number two, they probably didn't use the correct amount of thread locker. And number three, you got to clean the freaking threads. Guys, I can't stress this enough. Now we're going to go ahead and you see, even though it's fairly clean, take a look at that. Yeah, you see a little carbon buildup there? It happens, it goes everywhere, and it's a compensated gun, which means it really goes everywhere. Let's go ahead and set that over here. Go ahead and use another clean part of my Q-tip here. It's okay, we show our mistakes on ETA wheels too, because we're human. Give it a good scrub, and don't forget the screw holes. Dry paper towel, wipe it out. All right, there we have it. Now, it just happens to be a little bit easier for me to manipulate it. You can do this with the slide on the gun. You can do it with the slide off the gun. Anyway, take a Q-tip and get it as far in there as you can without going all the way in. You don't want to get it stuck and then you got to get it out and it's a pain in the butt. So just give it a good scrub. So you see how I'm just giving it a little tap? That helps the Loctite to disperse. And we're just going to let that cure up. So we'll be back in a couple minutes. We're just going to let that cure up and do its thing. I like to let it sit in the air for about 10 minutes or so, just to let it kind of thicken up a little bit, and then we're going to go ahead and install the optic. Our thread locker has dried out just a little bit. It just makes it a little easier to use. So you're going to notice that the optic doesn't want to sit flush down in there. So what you do, you have to just kind of shove it up. And remember what I said, this is a compression fitting. So it's going to provide resistance. And look at that, perfect hole alignment. Go ahead and take our first screw. And you may have to provide a little bit of forward pressure with your thumb. As you can see, I'm kind of doing it here, and it doesn't take a whole lot of forward pressure. Just going to get it in there a couple of threads, okay? You're not trying to torque these down just yet. And I've already set my torque wrench, so that's not a problem. We're just bringing it down nice and even, just like so. Level that out. Next, Shadow wants you to put a little drop under the head, and we're going to do that this way. Because we don't want to risk having it run forward and get onto the emitter. Now we're going to take our clean Q-tip, wipe off any of that extra because it really doesn't take much, and we're going to watch it. We're going to keep it level. That's one of the reasons I left the slide installed on the frame. And you're going to notice that as we come down with it, it's going to squeeze some of that out. So you're going to want to tip it a little back like this, because any of that run out is going to go to the rear and not front where your emitter is. As you can see, I may have gotten a little overzealous with it on the left one. We're going to take this opportunity just give it a good wipe, soak up any of that. And we're going to do the same for the other side. Moving it rearward, not forward. We're still squeezing a little out, so yeah, I went a little overzealous with it. There's 15, up, it out, and 15 inch-pounds. So there's 15, and now that they're both down, we're just going to check it one more time. That is 15 inch-pounds of torque. We're going to take our clean towel, pour a little alcohol on there, give it a good scrub to remove any Loctite from the top. Now check your emitter, make sure that you don't have a drop covering up your emitter. As you can tell, hopefully, I don't know if that's going to come out on camera or not. Hopefully it will. I can't tell, I can't see. But that's about all she wrote. Now for the next part. Go ahead and rock the slide to the rear. You're going to let this sit for 24 hours before you shoot it. And if you do choose to do it the way that I've done it, take the slide back off and just make sure that you don't have any Loctite dripping in here. Alrighty, now for the next part, you're going to need a laser bore sighter. Insert your laser bore sighter into the chamber, and you're going to go to a spot in your house that is 21 to 25 yards, or however far you want to zero. All right, so we're going to attempt to give you a little POV here. I don't know how well it's going to work. I don't even know if it's going to pick up the laser. But right there on the center of my door is 22 meters. Well, that's a pretty damn good zero. So what you're going to do, put the dot exactly on top of, hopefully y'all can see that. Anyway, this is already pretty damn close. So what we need to do is move it up. Okay. And now we need to move it right. Oh, man, I'm crazy. I'm chasing the wrong dragon here. Mind you, this is just a rough method. But all I'm trying to do is get them to where they'll overlap. There we go. Almost there. The hollow suns, by the way, have 30 MOA of adjustment. There she is. Okay. And now we're just going to move it up a little bit. And there we go. So I am not sure if this is going to come out on target or on camera at all or not. But what we have visually is the laser dot on the door and the dot on the optic exactly in line and exactly on top of each. It might help you if you turn up the brightness on your optic, by the way. So I mean, it's damn close. But problem is I have an astigmatism, so I should have bought a green laser and not a red one, but that's okay. So we're pretty good. And as you can tell, you also get a co-witness with the optics. By the way, a little foreshadowing, this is an awesome pistol. So now hopefully you guys will be able to see this. There it is. So you can see the dot perfectly lines up with the laser, and that's in the ballpark. So this is your rough zero. If you're a little bit closer, you'll be a little bit higher, just a hair. And if you're a little bit farther away, it'll be a little bit lower. But at 21, it'll be right here. So if you're an inch high or an inch low, you're still putting your rounds where they need to be to do what they need to do. So one last little tip, after you've got everything torqued down, you've got everything zeroed, all that cool stuff, take the edge of your little cool tool here, and you're just going to scribe a line on your hardware and right onto the side of your optic. You can do the same on the other side. Just scribe a line. And now you have a very easy visual reference. There's also stuff that they sell called torque stripe, which you can get if you're an aviation guy. You probably got some in your hangar. Or you can just use a paint pen. Like, there's nothing fancy about it at all. You'll have a great rest of your day.